Good evening, everyone. I'm Corey, and we are 20 Sides to Every Story, gaming community online, and a great little gaming community, in fact. We are running through Dragonlance, Shadow of the Dragon Queen, and a little bit of an exciting place, which we'll recap here in a second. Um, if you haven't gotten the opportunity and you're new to 20 Sides, I highly encourage you to check out our Discord channel where you can see pretty much everything we're into. And it's quite a bit. So we run the full gamut from TTRPGs, which you see here, to console and PC gaming, to art and all sorts of things. There's our book and literature category recently got pinged again by some of our members. So yeah, check it out if you haven't gotten the chance. It's active most times today. Here, like I said, we're running through Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen, the newest of the modules from Wizards of the Coast. And the characters originally had come to the region where they are currently because of a funeral, and have been drawn into the politics of the Red Dragon Army arriving on the plains of Solemnia. And it's clear that they are savvy and smart by this point, and they are not making a full-on invasion, but they seem to be doing skirmishes here and there. Most recently, the party learned that the party returned from one of these missions that they were on to learn that the Knights of Solemnia had come to visit, seemingly, to the city. And they learned that as they entered the city, these weren't really Knights of Solemnia. These were somehow undead creatures dressed in the armor of Knights of Solemnia. And they confronted the leader of these knights, a man by the name of Caradoc. And Caradoc, a little bit of an unusual creature, seemed to be able to possess the body of individuals and have them fight against the party. Eventually, Caradoc was banished, but not before he told the party that they would see him again. So banished is probably the better word. And they were visited by an individual who they had seen once before. An Sylvanesti elf who told them specifically that the leader, the person that Caradoc reported to, a man by the name that some might know, Lord Soth, had moved into the basement of Kalaman, of the Kalaman Castle, to look for something specific. The party and Ladara was her name. Ladara encouraged the party to immediately go. That he must be stopped at all costs. And the party headed down and learned a little bit, maybe, about Lord Soth and about his history. Inside the tomb where they were, which they learned was a tomb, there was this weird purplish flame that covered everything, objects, walls, and everything. And as they moved around the tomb, they saw scenes play out before them. And those scenes seemed to correlate to a cohesive history. And they involved an individual who fell in love with an elf. The elf pleaded with the individual to not continue to go out on quests. The elf seemed to send out envoys to also convince the individual not to go out on quests. And then it ended with the individual going back home to kill the elf. A little bit dark. The individuals were not able to catch Lord Soth, but they did see that somehow he bored through the earth itself as he moved through this tomb. Instead of following the path of the tomb, he actually seemed to carve out tunnels, or it wasn't entirely clear what happened. But he, the very last scene they saw was him grabbing a scepter, or I'm sorry, the very last scene in the flames they saw was an individual, presumably now this Lord Soth, grabbing a scepter, and with that scepter or a staff, flames erupting from it and bringing back to life an individual who they then met and they then fought. So the characters inside this tomb, they recognize that Lord Soth had somehow carved his way out of the side of the mountain, and it's about 200 feet up from the floor, the ground of the city below where they are. And so either Lord Soth flew, or he had help from possibly one of the creatures who that they had seen before, these flying wyvern like creatures who were flying around. I will just say one more thing before we start. Let me just get a room. So they stand now in this last room where they just had this battle. And in the middle of the room is a heavy stone brazier. There's a sarcophagus from which the creature, presumably Sarlamir was his name, presumably raised Sarlamir. And in the back of the room is a statue of a life-size dragon. And that dragon, now that they are closer to it, has the statue itself has a spear thrust through the jaws of the dragon. And the flames still sort of flicker around the spear. So what would you... Oh, sorry, I didn't do character instructions. So let's do character instructions real quick. And I think what maybe the characters think is their next action. So I'm going to start with Daw first.
Hello, I am playing Kato. He is level 6 Oath of the Crown Paladin. And as terms for next actions, I think it's mainly getting his bearings of what just happened and what has occurred within this chamber. All the stuff we've been seeing and learning as we're going through. What does it all mean? He's not really too sure. And I guess his media steps is, how do we report this to whatever authorities left?
Okay. Lauren, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm Lauren, and I am playing Miranda. She is a level 6 human sorcerer. And wow, in terms of next steps, well, first of all, she's, very much feeling like this Lord Soft character is very, very bad. The soap opera played out poorly in her mind. So she's ready to, jump down and go after him, but probably not the best course of action. So yeah, trying to figure out what the chain of command looks like now that the whole High Council was slaughtered.
Okay. David?
I am playing Cass, level 6 human rogue. Cass, still trying to get their bearings. Had a wall fall on them while trying to climb through a tunnel and battle with a undead knight. But still in the back of their mind thinking there might be some valuables to find in the crypts here. And it still might be a good time to try to steal the plans to a certain flying machine farther up in the keep. So that's kind of a
Okay.
lot of, trying to connect puzzle pieces, but also try and think, is it a good time to see some opportunities?
Okay. Alex?
Hey everyone, I'm playing Quinton, the wizard. Think where he's eager, I think, to see what remains of the kind of hierarchy or the leadership in Kalaman, but hearing or seeing, I guess, this spear inside the statue, is that what it was? He'd be sort of curious about that, and would of course be powering up a detect magic spell, probably just to discern if, I guess we know, or at least we've heard the word Dragonlance. I don't know if it's exactly been explained what a Dragonlance is, but he's probably, I think it was our understanding that it destroyed or lost or something, or might even be down here. So he's going to start casting a detect magic spell, see what he can learn about this thing and whether it's related.
Okay. And then last, certainly not least, Isaac.
Hello, I'm playing Brallin. He is a Drake Warden Ranger. Brallin would currently, he is, I think at this point, as the battle ends, I think everything is hitting him all at once. He's a bit overwhelmed with the fact that upstairs there are a number of dead bodies. Down here, they just fought a spectral ghost. So he really doesn't know what to do. And at the same time, he's trying to figure out, he wonders if his little pal Gertie, his little Drake, is okay. So there's a lot of things going on. And he is expecting for there to be more fight. So he is kind of just, his eyes darting back and forth. Not really easy on, he's kind of still a bit on edge as as it plays out.
I am near certain that in your fight, the Sarlamir mentioned a place called the City of Lost Names.
Mm-hmm.
City of Lost Souls or Lost Names?
Names. If I said souls, I apologize. City of Lost Names. Did he also mention something called the Northern Wastes? Okay.
That doesn't sound familiar.
So I'll add that here in a second. I would like, let's start with Kato making a history check with advantage this time.
One history check. You got it.
What? So, you sort of, there are a bunch of things that are fitting together for you, particularly with your background. All of the visions together fit with what you assumed were somewhat ghost tales of a legendary knight, Lord Soth, who you had already heard his name here. But much like the Cataclysm, it's really, really hard to distinguish what is actually fact from what is like just things, legends passed down. And so you know this Lord Soth. He was a Solemnic Knight of the Order of the Rose. He was the ruler of the province of Nightland, which was, and I think some of this I told you, was spelled Knight Lund, and is now spelled Night Lund. And you know this story, like the story that matches the flames. He rescued a group of Sylvanesti elves, including a priest by the name of Isolde, who is appears in other legends. Isolde and her attendants. Lord Soth was married at the time, but he fell in love with Isolde by the legends. And shortly after, Soth's wife died. 3 or 4 days later, he married Isolde after his wife's death. And the reason you know this story is the Knights of Slamnia heavily ruled against Lord Soth because he disrespected his wife by doing that. And so he was cast from the order. As the story goes, Soth was asked by the gods to prevent the cataclysm, but he failed in his quest to do so. And the gods proceeded with the cataclysm on the earth, destroying it and shattering it. Because he was still associated so heavily with the Knights of Slamnia, this is the initial action that brought discredit to the Knights. And so he's this figurehead of just sort of everything that went wrong with the Knights because of his selfishness and his greed. And so all of that sort of matches up with what you know. In terms of Sarlamir, sorry. Sorry, give me 1 second. Sorry, let me just see what of this is important now. In terms of Sarlamir, you know the name Sarlamir as one of the leaders of the Order of the Crown in history. And you know something happened at his death to bring him serious discredit. And so he was always like, he had been a respected leader of the Order of the Crown, and then at his death he was no longer, like, he's considered bad luck in many senses, right? So like that's not fully fleshed out. Let's see, Quinton, you were casting divine magic or detect magic, sorry.
Yeah.
So the statue itself doesn't glow, although you do definitely take a look, and whoever created the statue made it with every intent that it's clear that this spear was the thing that killed the dragon in the statue.
Would present the rusted Dragonlance tip that they pulled out of the sarcophagus to Quinton to see if that is magical.
Sure. This is probably the Quinton for you. This is really weird. It is magic. It does not glow with any of the schools of magic, though.
The part that Cass has?
Yes.
Okay.
Like it is doing something very different. Like, it is humming with magic, but it does not display one of the auras that you have learned to detect. It's not displaying anything. It just hums with magic. And you're not really sure what that means.
Well, it is still has a spark of its potency in it, despite its current state.
Well, if Lord Soth was down here looking for a prize, and we can presume he found it because he is gone, maybe there are other artifacts that can be of some use, similar to the shroud we found in that longsword. There may be others down here.
Miranda, I think you notice it first. Probably also Brallin a little bit, but for very different reasons. The glow of the flame is dying down around you. Like it's disappearing.
What do you think that means? It's like, I don't know, are we being told to leave here now? I don't. The whole place feels very unwelcoming.
It's getting dark. That's what I would assume. I would assume whoever that Lord Charles, I'm assuming that's who it was, is taking the power with him.
Did either of you, or magic types or holy types, recognize that item he was carrying that cursed Soromir to rise again, and the thing with the terrifying faces on it? Did that look familiar to anyone?
No.
Doesn't look any weapon that I've ever.
Yeah, it is unknown what, like it's completely unknown to any of you what could have been the thing in the flames that you saw, where he seemed to, some sort of fire erupted or went into it or whatever happened.
I don't know. Something unnatural.
Why would it have been in a crypt beneath this castle, among memorials to knights? And even if Solomir's, past is dicey, he was still laying, to rest with honor down here. What? I find it perplexing that there would have been anything that vile down here.
Sorry, can I interrupt here just for a second to try to add some more information if I didn't add it last time? When you talked to the knight in the room before, did he tell you what Sarlamir did?
He slaughtered a bunch of dragons, which
okay, that's
unprovoked.
I just wanted to make sure that was like, so Sarlamir killed a gold dragon specifically, and seemed to have been cursed for it.
Well, Soth isn't here any longer, and that was our purpose for coming down here. I think we need to regroup and see what remains of Kalaman's leadership so we can come up with a plan.
Well,
Gas will stick by Quinton to see if Quinton finds any other magical accoutrements while they ascend from the crypts.
You're the way back up crypt is uneventful. But it is now pitch black. Like once the flames and they do completely die out, it is dark in here, and so you guys use
I'll light up a torch to
mundane to get back up into the council chambers, and to narrate the next few hours. It's maybe 3 or 4 hours before Derek comes finds you, and just switch over here real quick. And so Derek finds you, having been aware of the news of what happened, and having led some individuals to search the castle to make sure none of these knights were still around. And so in the meantime, without any lack of leadership, it's been Derek who has rallied the few security forces he can to sort of try to establish some order. But right before he right as he finds you, he comes. He says, "I Marshal Vendry, she's back. Thank goodness. And she has the rest of the security forces here. Is she she's asking if you would meet with her first thing in the morning to take count of what just happened."
Yeah, if that's the time that she names, yes, we'll meet with her in the morning. If she needs us earlier, we'll burn them.
I think she would meet with you now, but she has, unfortunately, slightly bigger problems. I mean, not any problems that you don't know about, but a new leader council. Like apparently the Red Dragon army has split its forces as well, and most of them are going north into the northern wastes. And we're all tired. I think we just need to rest.
Morning it is.
Oi. Thanks for everything. You guys are my best friends. I really appreciate you guys being here with me. I mean, this is crazy. Like, it was like 2 weeks ago we were in Vogler. I miss Ispin.
We to see.
And he sort of gets called back by an aide, and he attends to other duties, and he looks like physically exhausted, like he is tired. And you can see sort of his youthful exuberance just sort of falling apart at this point as he's forced to deal with like real serious things. So this would technically be your long rest, which we did sort of in between sessions. But is there anything anyone wants to do before that rest or overnight or whatever? Before you
surreptitiously swing by Ms. Rickeldust's
Mhm.
office to see if anyone's home or if there's any unguarded parts.
I assume you're trying to go stealthy.
Yeah.
Make me a stealth check. All right. Unfortunately, it's not. You go up there, and there is a. She's come up with some contraption to like mass bandage people, and so it's super crowded up there as she's attempting to heal as many people as she can at once. You wouldn't submit yourself to this like by any means, because it looks like it is still very much in the beta testing phase, and some people seem to be coming out worse off than they went. Anyone else want to do something specific?
I just like to check to see if Quinton's father had gotten a letter back to me yet.
So your like everything is in disarray in terms of like you wouldn't even know where to find where the mail had come at this moment.
It's all like just complete chaos.
Yeah, just because it's like you guys left less than like a day or two ago, so it's all and this has all happened in the meantime. So right now, so anyone else?
I'd say maybe as maybe, well, if no one else is, but as like things are winding down, I think maybe Brallin might go up to Kato. He has a few questions for him. Right there, Sir Kato, may I enter?
You see him like catch himself from saying his typical sentence of "still not a knight." Yes. You need something? Like you can see he is trying to like looking over that sword that we acquired, seeing how it feels.
He'd step in and be like, well, he'd kind of have a bit of like a quizzical look on his face as he goes up. He goes, may I sit down?
I won't stop you.
Okay, great. Listen, I like you a lot, and I really respect how you always step up. I mean, in front while we're fighting and whatnot. You're always in the front line. I mean, I got a taste of it just this other fight and took a bit out of me.
Yeah, how are
Literally.
you feeling? That weapon felt a little weird.
Yeah, it sure did. But what I'm saying is, I'm looking at you, and I'm looking at me, and I don't know how to say this without being rude, but I mean, what you got, what you're wearing, I don't think it's well suited for what we're doing. You see, you're up in the front lines. You got a whole bunch of holes everywhere in your armor and such.
Well, the holes aren't really. Have you not worn chainmail before?
Oh no.
Here, let me show you. Like he'll pull out like just a like bit of his chain shirt. Well, you see, it's kind of not really meant to. It may look like it's good protection, but simple. You can poke at this thing. You can cut at this thing for a while. It won't get through.
What I'm saying is, I mean, we went up against some of these fellers, and they were covered head to toe. Why don't you do that? Is what I'm saying.
Well, the individuals you speak of were knights, which I am not. They are gifted their armor upon their.
Well, they weren't really nice, though.
Well,
we should just in the morning. What I'm saying, maybe in the morning we go up there and get their armor. We shine it up a bit, and you should wear it. Is what I'm saying.
I don't think it'd be in the right sense to be wearing someone else's armor, especially not one I have earned.
I'll say you earned it.
Well, in what way?
Well, I mean, you're doing knightly things. I mean, I'm just saying.
I mean, I'm merely just doing my duty to the nation, and I can't just take something that doesn't belong to me, even if maybe I won it in a battle or something like that, but it just wouldn't feel right.
What if I gifted you some?
I mean, gifts are fine.
Okay, sounds good. I'm a squire gifting you something. Sounds good.
You're not a squire. If talked about this. I can't have a squire as a squire.
Okay. Sure.
But
All
I
right, that's
appreciate
all
the
I needed
thoughts.
to know. Yep. I just didn't want to go to the trouble of getting it and you not accepting it, but good. All right. See ya. Have a good night. And he bows as he leaves.
How's Gertie? Like as he says that, like you're walking out the door.
I'll open the door. I'll open the door and let Gertie in and then close the door.
This is not what I had in mind. Like he shovels just like to the corner of his bed, just like I don't want to open the door now. She's guarding it. Brallin? Quinton?
He's gone.
Cass?
Cass is in one of the private rooms off the main room. So, are you in one of the smaller rooms, or are you in like the big?
Our room.
Yeah. You just like nothing stirs behind the closed door that Cass is in.
It's just gonna be a stare down.
I might
The next-
come. Sweetheart? Sweetie, you okay in there?
Brallin, is dragon in here again?
Oh, bless. Brallin, what?
She's drooling everywhere.
Oh,
It's going to the floor.
Not supposed to have
Oh.
dragons in here.
well, let me.
You just see Brawlin's just sitting there on his bed, just smiling up at the ceiling as he hears the commotion.
Brallin, love, sweetie.
I've had to go to the bathroom for an hour and a half.
Okay, yeah, he'll eventually, yes, he'll go and he'll eventually open the door real quick. Go on, and then that'll be good.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else for that evening? Or are we just hitting the hay?
Getting cozy.
All right. Next morning comes, and Derek comes to grab you. First thing, I'm just gonna grab some coffee. 1 second. Give me 2 seconds.
We did it. We survived the night.
Have we though?
All right. Derek comes in, collects you, and brings you down to the only real times you've seen Marshal Vendry is in the city council chambers or to a chamber right aside it. In this case, though, he brings you to a whole different area, and she has set up shop away from the carnage that happened the night before, or day before. And so, as you walk into the room, it's a modest little meeting room down the hall. There's not much more in the room except a long table that's just absolutely covered in reports. But because you still are on top of the castle itself is on top of this hill in the middle of the city, there are in this room beautiful windows that look out onto the city harbor, and most of the city you can see from this room. The marshal is standing by a window, just gazing out. As you walk in, you see a familiar face as Lord Baccharis is sitting at the table. And he says, as the first of you appear to his sight, "Here they are now, Marshal. You know, perhaps if we had not put our faith in these sellswords, my son would still be here at my side, and perhaps the governor would still be alive."
Still processing the guilt, I guess.
Just let him say what he has to say.
Sorry, Lord Baccharis, did you think that we could somehow have stopped this massacre? What are you implying exactly? Come right out with it then.
Well, I didn't see you doing much at all.
We just gotten there. You left without us. We didn't even know you were out there.
Doing important work. Where were you? And the marshal interrupts and says, they were out on my orders. Buckarus sort of shuts up at that. He's sort of staring each of you down, or trying to stare each of you down.
I guess now that we've gotten that out of the way, can we get down to business?
Marshal, you're not going to discipline them for losing my son? I mean, this incompetence, this unprofessionalism. And the marshal sort of once again politely but firmly shusses him. And she says, Lord Buckarus, I'm my messengers are due back with a report just this hour about the fate of your son. Perhaps going down to their office would be a good thing, so you learn firsthand, and perhaps you can report back to me once we know the most recent intelligence. And he looks up at you and looks at her and looks up at you and says, I suppose that's better work than hanging out with these mercenaries. And he stands up and he sort of fixes his clothing as best he can and sort of walks towards the door, but you are all standing in the door. Mm-hmm. So he does that like awkward thing where he's trying to get around you.
As he's trying to move, like I'm gonna be like, oh sorry, and as I'm doing it, like intentionally kind of giving him like a finger, like, oh sorry, let me get out of your way. Oh sorry. Happy to see you feeling better.
As he sneaks around you, you hear him. And you're being totally obvious, right? Like not.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, okay.
Like so, staring at his face.
So you hear him without turning around back to the crowd. You hear him. As I said, Marshal, unprofessional. And you hear him moving down the hallway with sort of being at the weight of his armor that he has adorned himself in.
You want to speak with us, Marshal?
And she says, you can see her eyes following him out of the room. And she says, yes, please come sit. Invites you in the room and closes the door behind you so that he doesn't walk back in. You can see if I think I said it, but Dara is with you in the room. So it's the group of you plus Derek, and you can see the look of. It's clear the marshal has not slept all night, or maybe multiple nights at this point. You can just see the look of exhaustion and wear on her face. And she says, "Well, let me start by saying that unlike." The Lord here, I do trust you, and I do trust your ability. You should be warned that there's only so much I can do to stop him from spreading rumors, similar to the ones you just heard. The locals, well, quite honestly, their leaders are dead, and they're looking for anyone to blame. Stories of a ghost in the castle aren't going to help them. And so, if Buckarus is persuasive, just be aware that he may be trying to pin this all on you. we'll do our best to get reality out, but I think you should be forewarned.
Maybe should I go get him and maybe we have a talking to, face to face? Maybe we'll just snuff it out now. I'll be right. Should I go grab him?
I don't think that is necessary. Short of shutting him up completely, which is not something I'm currently willing to do. I don't think there is much that we can do.
I've gone through most of my life with people not really liking me, so like this isn't really new territory. It's fine.
We like you. But, I mean, with him spreading rumors, maybe it'd be good for us to, not hang around the keep for too long. Maybe go out on another mission.
And she nods.
Maybe we take him with us so he won't do any more harm in our absence. No one seems to be able to nullify his detrimental actions. Everything he touches turns to shit. Every time we leave and come back, whether it's here or Vogler, he's stirring up trouble. And forgive my bluntness, no knight, no governor, no marshal seems to be able to stop him. He's a threat as much as the Red Dragon army is.
Well, I think he is a threat, but as big as the Red Dragon army, I don't quite. I think that might be a bit of an exaggeration. The Red Dragon army now is our enemy, and Bucharest is a nuisance, to say the least. But I don't believe that he necessarily is worried any more or less than one would be worried about their own son going missing. He just has a quite unusual way of blaming everyone else for what happened.
We're not babysitters. Well, maybe Miranda to a certain extent, but we can't be like dragging this guy around with us. Plus, Brallin will. I don't know. Brallin will do something to him.
No,
I will.
No. Before we make any incriminating comments, let me just say here about his danger to the party and his, similarity to the Red Dragon army. Just, I have known men like Bakers before back home, and they're the first to betray you whenever there's anything at all advantageous. And for him, it'd be particularly easy to betray us all because he's, worried about his son, the whole situation. I think he should be someone who is given absolutely no power or access or authority, because he will abuse it and turn on us the second he has the chance.
I mean, his son's dead, right? Like, we all agree, like, did somebody tell him?
I mean, what will the Red Army tell him? I mean...
I wish... I believe the worst for his son, of course, but we have no body, we have no... And what we know of the Red Dragon army, and what we know of his son, would it be really that weird if his son hadn't been paid off by the Red Dragon army with the promise of something?
That's extraordinarily likely to me. I mean, both of them, I think, would be very easily paid off.
CoGo, just so that I remember the events, was the marshal... We were gone. The marshal was sent out while that other order was given to go and try to take out.
Great review. So you were the first group to be sent out, and you were just doing a small mission, right? I think that was when you went to find Tatana, right? So you go to find Tatana. During the time you are away, Marshal Vendry goes with a large, like 70% of the city's militia, towards a group of Red Dragon Army that they think is approaching the city, with the idea of ambushing them. While that is happening, scouts pick up. You guys can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Scouts pick up that a small group has detached from that big group and is moving in a different direction.
Okay.
Bacchus had rallied people to say, let's go after that group. At least we can pick them off. Not realizing that group was in close proximity to a third group that was the reason they were routed. So, but Marshal Vendry was still pursuing that large group. Darrett sent word to you that, hey, this is stupid. You guys need to come as soon as you can. When you guys caught up to them, Darrett sent a messenger to Vendry's big group saying everything that had happened, that, hey, this wasn't the only force out here. There are multiple forces. Please come back to the city. And so Marshal Vendry came back last night to the city with her large group of forces. And now all of the forces that remain, more or less, are in the city.
Okay. That's good.
So
yeah, and maybe like RP wise, Brallin would have asked the marshal to like clarify the events, right?
Yep.
And I guess at that point he might ask, well, first off,
it seems well, I mean that brings us to while we're here. You want to know what happened, right?
Yes.
Seems like something's manipulating us because it seems like too much of a coinkydink, I'd say, that all these things happen so perfectly. Is what I'm saying, right? Cass is what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
If Bacchus the older, or more likely Bacchus the younger, is not in league with the Red Dragon Army, there are a lot of coincidences that are difficult to explain. If Bacchus the younger reappears, it seems to confirm that no one could have survived from what we heard what happened. So if he does show up, seems to suggest he's a collaborator or one of those shape-shifting draconians.
Well, but sorry, a bunch of people survived.
Right, but didn't you say that we or someone saw him get pulled from his horse?
Yes.
Get like basically swarmed?
Right, but a large group, you encountered the group as they were fleeing.
Right.
Right. So a large group did escape that attack, that ambush.
Right, but I guess I was under the impression he was sort of in the vanguard and leading a charge.
Yeah. But there were others too that have since returned. Like, that's all I'm saying is that it wasn't the people who returned to you were engaged in battle and they fled. Just they thought they were attacking a smaller group, and when this third group came in, they realized they were going to be routed.
Right.
So I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong. I'm just saying that it's not. There could be a different interpretation.
Cass is uncharacteristically trying to convince Vendry that these aren't just buffoons that like, oh, we'll just suffer the fools for now, like is digging in their heels a little bit because they think that a combination of either ineptitude and along with arrogance or even downright collusion, like they are going to continue to be a problem. And if they're going to be sent out again, Cass wants it on the record that if Bacchus the Younger comes back, it spells a lot of trouble. And
so
then we'll just kind of go silent after that because it said that
Marshall, since both of you brought that up, Marshall Vendry is just going to lay out facts and she's not doing it in a way that talks down to you. Like, it's not like she's just throwing out, like, she says, well, then I could be the collaborator or any of the individuals who are dead in that council chamber, who died in that council chamber. Because those first two, I sent you to go to Tatana. That's one. coincidence. 2, I was ordered by the city council to go west. In neither of those cases were either the Baccharuses involved. The third, of course, he went straight in without me being around. He was able to convince that he had military prowess and could lead, despite that being, fanciful at best.
That's what I don't understand though. Is I mean, looking at the guy, what this whole shit. I mean, sorry, I don't mean to speak ill of the dead, but why would they even allow this? There was a guy, this fella, the night was there. He was what was to be the word? He was being controlled by a see-through specter guy. I don't know. Spirit? Yeah, spirit. You think maybe council could have been controlled as well or something?
I mean, perhaps with that. I mean, this is the members of the council were just the masters of their trade in the city. It's not like war comes to this city every day. And you had Lord Baccharis apparently come in and exaggerate his claims to what he knew and his experience. So perhaps it's more likely that you have one inexperienced people convincing a group of inexperienced people that he knew what he was doing. There was no one there to speak on my behalf when that decision was made. So no one was evaluating the fact that I left. I'm just going to say 20. Ignore if I change these numbers at some point. I left a small group, 20% of the city militia here, to guard the city. Who in hell would then suddenly take that group out of the city even further to leave it even more vulnerable? So perhaps you're right about Baccharis. And we dodged a bullet we dodged an arrow. We dodged a
bolt.
We dodged a bolt. We dodged a bolt. By getting back here as fast as we did before the worst case scenario.
Well, then it sounds like you should be making these decisions from now on.
I plan to. I do not wish to have. I can't make every decision. I certainly can make military decisions, but I need the day-to-day running still has to sit with the council. And so we have asked the guilds.
Why not invite the former Mayor Raven to step up? She has civil or civic experience as a leader.
I may do that. Right now, the guilds, each of the 5 guilds, are proposing by the normal process, and so we should have most of a council again. And we're only at that point missing a mayor. The mayor here is elected. It would be difficult for me to appoint a mayor. It doesn't mean that I won't take that advice and rely on Raven for assistance. Certainly an advice. But it would be, I fear, to go to the path of dictatorship here. I don't think that's what the city needs, nor do I think I have the word bandwidth, nor do I think I have the attention span to deal with petty decisions about agriculture or commerce in this city. The protection of the city is now even more important than it was. My original job is even harder than it was.
Well, I don't think any of us are accomplished politicians, so like kind of on your own there. But maybe there's some other things you need doing that we can help free up some real estate in your brain.
I would very much like to hear about what happened below.
Oh. Well, it's not going to make your day any better for us to tell you that. Do you know, what do you know already? As far as...
Well, I understand that from Darrett and from others who had heard the stories after you returned, that like you said, there was an individual in the council room when you entered. The individual seemed to have possessed one of the Knights of Solemnia. You fought and you removed him from that body, eventually driving him away from the castle completely. Only to learn that a part of the castle that had been sealed off, and even I did not know existed, had been reopened. And the castle aides report that there was a mysterious purple glow emanating from this area that eventually died down shortly before you returned.
Oh, okay. Well, we think...
I've sealed off the area again.
Well, that's good. I'm not sure. The killing of the council, I think there's something larger going on there, but it was really a distraction somewhat for the bigger objective, which was, you're familiar with Lord Sock, yes?
I know the name, but not anything. He's been dead for years.
Ish, I think, maybe. Some sort of spectral thing type body that could dig through walls and stone and dirt. Well, he was looking for something down in the crypts, and
You're saying I'm sorry. You're saying that a man that was entirely a legend yesterday was here in the castle.
That we're
and
not sure.
Down in the tombs.
Could be an impersonator or the man himself. We don't know for sure, but we do know is that whoever. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
What we do know is some individual broke down to an ancient tomb to Islamic Knights to steal some sort of, I don't even know how to describe it, a staff of skulls? Staff of fate? I don't even know how to put it into words.
Dangerous weapon at hurt.
And that staff of skulls was downstairs?
A lot downstairs. But yes, that was there, among other things.
There was also an elf, right? There
was an elf, yeah.
Right. She told us to go down there.
There is an elf here in the city, in the council?
In the council room.
Appeared to be another spirit of unknown origins. I believe Cassie said something about her. That you recognized her?
Yeah, there was someone in Vogler who had an uncanny resemblance to that Sylvanus the elf. But it's we could spin you a yarn that you will either believe or won't believe. There was also a spectral knight who was praying in the room before. The corpse of a long dead knight, a different long dead knight arose. I don't know that anything that we can tell you is going to have an impact on your current role that already seems to be overwhelming you. We certainly can leave you with the details, but it's all a bit much to for even us to make sense of.
And I hope you don't think I trust you. It's not that I don't believe you, but if I can summarize what you just said, one ghost who you met in Vogler, although I like Gogler somehow better. One that you met in Vogler, followed you here and told you right after fighting a second ghost that a third ghost was downstairs and you should go after him.
And not just that, but there were dead soldiers guarding the camp. The
Oh yeah, the council room.
Right,
there
they
were.
were-
And we found what remained of them. It was quite unusual: bone dust and rusted armor.
still got that armor, right?
Yes, it's not. I'm not sure how seaworthy it is anymore, but so you said this Lord Soth, he came, or someone on his behalf came here looking for something. Did he find it? Do you know?
We think so. It appears so.
And do you have any reason to know what he needed it for?
Story going on.
Yeah. The only clue we heard was from the corpse of Sir Solomir saying that he was being forced to follow Lord Soth's call through the haunted flames of the cataclysm, and he mentioned needing to get to the city of lost names. Does that mean anything to you?
She looks at Darrett and she says, looks back and I don't. I've never. That's quite dramatic name for a place. I don't. But perhaps you asked. I don't remember which one of you asked, but for something to be assigned to do next. Perhaps it's the library. I hate to give a group like you a mundane task, but if there's some connection to this city of lost souls, perhaps that is the best place. The castle here has a library. It's old. I admit I don't spend much time there.
Now that you reminded me of the library, who has that scroll? Who has that paper?
I think Cass, right?
Which scroll are we talking?
The knight who was being possessed had a scroll with him with a black seal on it, which depicted.
Oh,
I believe,
yes,
a rose.
the letter from the
And,
supposedly rightful ruler of the province, Lord Soren Soth. Yeah, Cass would show Vendry, and then kind of would say, yes, the library seems like a worthy destination. Knowledge is always the strongest weapon.
I realized I'm going to throw up a few pictures here for you real quick. Because I forgot that I had these for you. She here is the purple flame. There's a quick one of those. Then I have one more for you. Oh, Sarlamir. Name. And she looks at the seal, and Solamir, if I hadn't shown that one to you. And she says, I'm afraid. Also, it's old, but I don't know it. But it might also be a thing for the library. This Kalaman is on the border of. I'm assuming you told her other things that we didn't directly say. Kalaman is on the border of Nightland. Could the rightful Lord of Kalaman be this individual who you said was the Lord of Nightland?
I don't think we have definitive proof that Lord Soth is in league with the Red Dragon Army. So when we asked Caradoc if his master was Takisis, he said not directly, but maybe implied indirectly. We don't. Seems again very suspicious that that this ancient undead knight would choose now to plunder your crypts. If it is not connected. But we can certainly do some more research on these matters if there is a library at hand.
Well, I think I think that's. I mean, at this point, Dareth sort of jumps in and delivers that same sort of report that he told you, was that a group of these the group of the Red Dragon Army had broken off, and now for no reason is headed north. Let me see if I can find you a map. Okay. There I am. There's the Kalaman region, of course, here at Kalaman. So a group has, I'm going to delete this in a second. Let me make sure I'm the right level. A group of soldiers is headed up in this direction. Like a smaller group from the main army. And this is a sudden change. And so what Dareth says over the next few minutes as he's talking, and Dareth points out that he thinks that is weird. Like, that's basically the fact that the army clearly is up to something, right? And what they're up to, it's not clear. The Northern Wastes, you hear them talking back and forth, are just a dangerous place. Like, they aren't survivable. Most people who go up there go looking for treasures of like pre-cataclysmic things, and they just die. The tides up there, like, so there are huge canyons up there that, based on the ocean tides, will just fill up with water suddenly and completely like drown people or bury things that had been found, things like, it's just an inhospitable place. And so the fact that the Red Dragon Army is headed there or in that direction is just weird, right? Because if a small group of people can't survive there, an army inside one of these canyons when the tide fills up is ludicrous. And so you hear them talking back and forth about what they might be going for it. And Dareth keeps pointing towards, like, there's something, like, there's some, if they're being led by someone, they're looking for something over and over. And he also points out, sort of the things you saw down in the tomb. Going off, Cass, your point that we don't know if they're necessarily connected, but if they are, is what happened in the tomb somehow related to the Red Dragon Army going to the Northern Wastes? And so that's sort of the conversation as they're having it. And Dareth is like, Vendry is also, you can see Vendry more and more like really respecting Dareth. Like it's not, Dareth is not overstepping his bounds. He's not telling Vendry what to think or anything. He's just throwing out, hypotheses, and occasionally like they'll look at a map and they'll plot things out, talking about sort of what the Dragon Army could be up to. But you can tell there's this respect building between the two of them. Is there anything you guys wanted to add to that conversation specifically? Nope. All right. So Vendry, sort of the meeting concludes with the idea that this city of lost names would be a good place to try to figure out if you can find anything about it. Dareth says that he's going to work with the scouts and see if there's any specifics they can find out about what the Red Dragon Army might be up to, at least that contingent that went north. And you guys are set free unless there's something else you wanted to bring up.
I would hang back for a second and ask for a moment for the.
With whom?
With the marshal.
Okay.
If everyone's done, wait a moment.
And she probably doesn't notice you haven't left the room for a second, and then looks up and she says, "Oh, what? I'm sorry. What can I help you with?"
Well, it's something. Well, it's just something real quick. You see, Kato is just well. I'm just wondering maybe I could pay someone to look or something. I'm just looking to try to get this fella a little bit better armor. You see what he's going through. He's always up there, kind of in the front lines of our little group. And I'm just looking to try to get. I don't know. Maybe you got something lying around.
Have you talked to the armorer? I'm not sure. I don't. Our quartermaster is better suited for this task than me.
But you got pull. Is what I'm just saying.
I do. But even if we were to equip him with plate mail, that would have to be fitted to him. It's not something we could just pull off the shelf. And once again, something better suited for the quartermaster. If you want my permission to ask the quartermaster, of course you have it.
Okay. Your orders. Got it.
I can't, this isn't a problem I can directly solve.
Right.
And
okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to waste your time. I was just, I figured I'd ask.
Like as I said, the quartermaster is really, if any of our stores, anything we have available, that would be the place to go and make inquiries.
Well, thank you.
And you can tell them that I've requested it.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. Sorry to waste any more of your time. Get some sleep when you can.
And she turns back to what she's doing. Boy, what are you guys up to?
I want to try to talk to Cass for a second, kind of like let the others walk ahead of us just a little bit and like drop back and see if I can catch Cass.
Okay.
So I'll talk low and say, "So, a scholar, are you?"
Of course.
Hmm. Okay. So I'm curious then. Is your study more in, you know, finding rare and valuable things and acquiring them?
At times, that wasn't my first crypt, if that's what you're asking.
Hmm. What about getting rid of problems with people like
Yes, just waits patiently for Miranda to finish the question.
well, have you studied any in making problems disappear?
I unfortunately do not have a ready solution if you're referring to Baccharis. I have no patience for nobility, for anyone whose station gives them the right to inflict and infect others with their stupidity. Um, I I have run into individuals like that throughout the years, and I do my best to avoid them. And yes, there are ways that they can be mitigated. Was hoping Vendry would find a way to get rid of him because he and his son, if his son still lives, will be a bane on Kalaman. But what else? What else can we do but warn those who have actual authority? I say we are much more effective than obviously the council. They all are dead. We are not. So I think we do what is best for us. We do what is best for the city, and given what limited power we have. Did you have something in mind, Miranda?
Something in mind. I was just curious where your skill set lay. Um, I share your concern about both elder and younger, and I don't like him hanging around here. But
No, I think if anything were to happen to him, we would be the suspects. So we would either need to just blatantly get rid of the threat, whether that's permanent or temporary, would be up to the group. But knowing Kato and big-hearted Brallin, I don't know that assassination would be our group vote.
I doubt that. Well, if you don't pose it as assassination, but just that you're gonna beat him real hard, you could probably get Brallin on board.
Right, but that would only make our troubles multiply because he does have sway where despite all of our good deeds, we still seem to have a very limited amount of sway over the people that we've been paid to protect.
Well, that's very
So
accurate.
we can either take the law into our own hands, which again I don't think is going to be the popular option, or we do our best to work around him, and sadly we'll probably have the chance to say I told you so later on. Just
Well,
hopefully it won't get more people killed.
what about this? What if we don't want to hurt either Baccharis? I assume you have ways of having information maybe leak out, maybe spread. Maybe we plant some sort of false story, see where that leads, and if it is something that Baccharis is telling people, we'll know whose side he's on.
You're saying try to trap him, expose him, or simply try to rally the people against him?
I'd be happy to just expose him to, the whoever the new mayor's is, and to Marshal Vandry, and just throw him in a cellar somewhere. That's fine. I don't really care what the people think, but I think if we could prove that he's working against our interests.
Let me ask you a question, Miranda. How long do you think the situation in Kalaman will remain as it is? We've been here a week, perhaps, maybe 2, and seemingly every other day the situation changes. So I think what you say makes sense if we plan to live here for many months to come. Do you see us still within the safety of Kalaman's walls in the months to come, or do you think the war, the intrusion of evil undead creatures will perhaps pull the floorboards out from under us before then?
Oh. I mean, I don't think that the city council being slaughtered was any kind of coincidence. I think Kalaman is about to enter a period of great unrest, and whoever gets appointed to the council, I'm sure, is going to. I'm sorry, I'm rather cynical about these things. No, it would have to be something done quickly to counteract anything that he's planning. I don't think that we have time.
Vendry made her position clear. She's not prepared to make the hard decisions. If Kalaman is to survive this war, they need a martial leader with the same kind of dedication we saw of the knights back in Vogler. But Vendry is stretched too thin. The council still thinks it's business as usual and are trying to vie for their individual guild interests, when I think those of us who are wiser realize that, especially when the council and the guilds are concerned, that is just, perhaps something to distract them from the doom that is slowly going to engulf this city. If Vendry isn't going to take control and make hard decisions and try to stay, apolitical, then we can't force her hand. We don't have the authority here unless we make a power play, and I don't know that any of us want authority over a city that is being circled by red dragon vultures.
Certainly don't want to sit in the council chair, do you?
No, but I think we don't want to see another massacre. And again, that brings me back to sort of the question of, well, what can we do about Baccharis? I'm afraid there really isn't anything. There aren't any half measures here. If we want him dead, we kill him. If we want to continue to suffer his whatever intrigues he has, whether intentional or unintentional, his complications to matters, then we have little choice as long as we are the stewards of Kalaman and bear these tokens. We are to follow Vendry. We swore allegiance to the marshal.
Indeed, we did. And, well, I'm sure Marshal Vendry does not want any questions of assassinations.
No, it wouldn't be. Again, suspicion would fall to us, but they're given the chaos. I don't know that they can afford to arrest us anyway. It's just a matter of, are we adding to the chaos or are we diminishing it? I can't confess to know the answer to that, but if we focus on the missions given to us, again, and I told you so comes later, we'll be vindicated if we survive treachery.
As we all burn under the dragon's fire, yes.
Yeah, that is a possibility, which is another reason why I'm not against the idea of venturing out and investigating this latest mystery, because if and when Baccharis the Younger returns, there'll be more trouble. have a sneaking suspicion we haven't seen the last of him, and whether it's really him or a draconian or yet another ghost, which we seem to have no shortage of, it will just be yet another mystery to haunt us, I guess.
Well, I guess we better do our research then.
However, I will add this, Miranda. If the time comes to act and desperate decisions need to be made, you can count on me.
All right. I appreciate that. Obviously, you can count on me as well.
All right. What are the rest of you up to?
Quinton's gonna notice that him and Kato are the only two that aren't having super conversation with anybody, so he's just gonna go up to Kato and name. Hey, Kato.
Yes, Quinton.
Are you feeling excluded right now? I feel a little excluded.
In what way?
Because, well, you know, Brallin is talking to Vendry and Miranda and Cass are back there. You don't want to know what they're talking about.
What kind of things do you think they talk about back there?
Well, I could read lips, and then Miranda, she's got.
What?
I could read lips. Miranda's got
skill.
kind of her conspiratorial face on right now, and so I know we don't want any part of that conversation. Just in case, I don't think they're going to go through with it, but just in case, we don't want to be a part of that. How are your research skills? You want to go hang out in the library?
Well, I'm not really the best when it comes to reading. I tend to be a slower reader, but I do have a list of possible points to
good
look into. As I said, I'm not the greatest at when it comes to.
Do you know how to use? You know how to use a card catalog? I can teach you. See, maybe your old pal Quinton's got some skills he could teach you, Mr. Knight.
Yes, I would be happy to accompany you in such an endeavor.
I think Quinton and Kato, at least, will head to the library to dig up information on the cold wastes and maybe things related to Lord Soth and things related.
I have a list I've made of possible research topics. Maybe we can start at one and go from there.
Yeah, is it alphabetized and prioritized?
No, it was more as I was thinking on events. First one, as the marshal requested, is the City of Lost Names.
Oh, that's a good starting point. Let's start there.
All right. We'll save the rest of the list for later. Don't want to be too distracted, I guess.
All right. What I would love to know what's on the list so that I can weave this into a narrative.
All right. City of Lost Names, the Northern Wastes, the weapon that was retrieved from the crypt, if there was anything on that. Lord Soth, because you never know. Dragonlance was also on there. Cara Varadi, the Golden Dragon / Xanis. They're still a little more. And the Darkheart Mountains / Keep.
Okay.
At some point, we had heard something about a device that could make a castle or a keep fly.
Okay.
I want to look up such things.
Okay. Who all is involved in this search? I know the two of you go first, but
Cass definitely wanted to go to the library as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I would too.
Brallin, are you nerding it up too?
After talking to the quartermaster, hey, then I'll go and help him.
Okay.
Golly.
Gorsh.
Kato, what's your armor now?
I'm wearing a chainmail, so it's 16, but I do have a fighting style that makes it 17.
Got it. So to close the loop on that, you can get splint mail. They're going to need some materials, so I'm just going to put it at a very cheap cost of 40 gold.
Ooh, hold on. I don't know if I have 40 gold.
We got to get our allowance.
Wait, have I not?
I
guess.
have 30 gold.
I have 32. I think he would. I think Brallin would say, "Can he get a advance?"
Yeah. So let's do that. So you guys can all get your pay advance.
Okay.
Which, how much was it? Does anyone remember? I can look it up real quick.
I think it was 6.
And I thought it was like 10 gold a week or something. I thought it was
I'll find it.
or 5 or 10.
Reporting for duty.
Oh, it's 5 gold per week.
Yeah. So,
and an emblem of Kalaman to signify our rank is what we're.
I'm fine if you clear out that 30 and then take the 5 for this week.
Okay.
So that's yeah.
All right, I'll clear it out on my own.
So Kato, you will have splint mail as soon as Kato decides, or as soon as Brallin.
He's gonna bring it in. He'll eventually. As soon as they start doing it, it's gonna get noisy because he's gonna be carrying a sack full of splint armor into the library with him because he's very excited to give it to Kato.
All right. So there's that. Now the other stuff. So give me a second to try to do this as realistically as possible. City of Lost Names. Oh, actually, the people who are doing it. Sorry, before I do that, people who are doing that. Everyone, make me a history check. Who are in the library?
Nice job, Quinton.
Right.
Oh, good rolls.
Wait. So, City of Lost Names. Absolutely nothing. Nothing to be found about those. Something else on that list was an absolute nothing too. Let me think of it in a second. I'll think of that in a second. About Caravarics. You find out that I think it would probably be Quinton. Caravarics was the leader, like the senior most gold dragon amongst a contingent of gold dragons who were sent to destroy the flying city. Based on everything you read, that was a statue of him in the tomb that you saw that had the spear through his snout. There is a legend that Sarlamir, or it doesn't say Sarlamir, but you're pretty sure you can connect everything, that Sarlamir killed Caravarics with a Dragonlance. And what was interesting about that death was that the blood instantly the Dragonlance was destroyed by this act of dishonor. All right. Flying City was also involved in that story, and that the king priest of Ishtar had made a city fly, which was in defiance of and not that wasn't in defiance of the gods. That's somewhat magical. What was he was saying his power came from him, not from the gods. So that was the act of heresy that the king priest did, but that he made it happen was sort of wondrous, that there was this flying city. The weapon in the tomb. Did you mean the part of the Dragonlance?
I have both the Dragonlance and that weird skull thing.
Oh, the
Both,
thing.
both weapons.
Yep. That's sorry, got it. The weird skull thing you have, it's too vague. That sort of you don't searching through, you just don't find anything that would fit that description. But that's pretty broad. Although you do come across that one second. That a mention of something called cataclysmic fire. And cataclysmic fire was the fire that when the cataclysm hit, it's the thing that burned off the world. And that you do, based on descriptions of it, sorry, you read that. Then you also read that cataclysmic fire still exists in certain places in the world, normally places that are considered cursed, completely cursed. And so, yeah. City lost names. Northern Wastes I'll get to in a minute. Am I missing any from that list? Besides Northern Wastes?
Other than Northern Wastes, I have Lord Soth, Dragonlance, and the Mountain Range, Darkheart Mountains / Keep.
Okay. But nothing much there. I don't think that'll come up significantly. About the range. Dragonlances, nothing. That they were legendary weapons used to fight dragons, and it involved a person mounted on a dragon jousting against another dragon often, although there were some Dragonlances that were not during mounted combat, more like pikes in some sense, and that Dragonlances have not been seen in the world, and that the magic to create a Dragonlance also is missing from the world. It hasn't been for some time. Dragonlance, Lord Soth. The only extra thing, and I mean, I can read through some of the stuff I already read, but Soth failed in his quest, etc. That had he passed, the cataclysm would have been averted, but he did not. Do
we learn what his quest was specifically?
No. But you do learn that well, the wind really picked up here as we talk about curses. We do learn that the reason he didn't do the cataclysm, he didn't stop the cataclysm, he didn't finish his quest, seems to match up with he got distracted by something that caused him to go kill his wife. That with her dying breath, she cursed him. So that it really was. It wasn't that he just failed a quest. It is that he was acting selfishly and chose to do something else, which also involved murdering his wife.
Can we investigate her a little bit? That's what I would want to see if there was anything else on.
Oh yeah, Isolde. Yeah.
I don't think there's much in here on her. I'll be honest, but let me give you. Let's see. Hold on. see if I can find the D. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Wow, there is you don't find too much. She was a priest of the Sylvanesti, revered for her beauty and revered for her piety. And if you know the name, if you know that, sorry.
Oh, is there anything on the first wife?
No. If you know anything about Isolde, that name from D&D in general, not the same as Isolde. If you know from Ravenloft and that stuff, not different. Maybe in a weird way connected, but not pertinent to this story at all. Goth also has a Ravenloft connection. Than this story. Yeah, so it's not the greatest library on earth, but it's, you get some basic histories of what was going on. You don't read anything about, you do probably find mention that the tomb was in this city in Kalaman, like that it wasn't a completely hidden thing. It just had sort of been lost once it was sealed. And in those mentions, it talks about that statue. It talks about it being a cursed place, but no mention of a weapon inside of it or anything. No, nothing like that. As for the Northern Wastes, you get a little bit of what was said to you by the marshal. It is dotted, just absolutely dotted with ruins of pre-cataclysmic things. So there will be whole buildings and temples, and people are drawn there for the mysteries that are inside. But very, very few people survive. It's inhospitable on its good days, and then you have these tides which roll in and out of it. It was basically this area that was by cataclysmic fire just carved, like if you put your fingers across a sheet cake and just pulled. So there's these weird gullies and valleys that are still basically the bases of which are still at sea level. So that during a high tide, the whole thing's flood in very, very suddenly. And so it's just incredibly dangerous to travel around up there. But no necessary mention of specifically where, if the city of Lost Names is there, there's nothing. That's not clear. So I think now is probably a decent time to take a break, unless there's specific library. We can take a break after the library. Are there other things you guys would like to investigate?
Just the source of what caused the city of Ishtar to fly. Was it a device?
Unknown, because the king priest said it was him. Like that, it was his grace that the thing was flying. So that's in all the accounts. That's what was going on. So, yeah. Let me just make sure. Lord Soth, Solomir. I'm trying to make sure that there's Dragonlance melted away. I guess the only other thing is that you learn that Caravarix was the chosen of Paladine, the leader of the good gods. So killing that dragon specifically it makes sense why this was not. And for a Knight of Solemnia to do it, that was a bold act. So we'll let's take a break here. We will be back in about 5 minutes. Thanks everyone for sticking with us. This is 20 Sides to Every Story. This is Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen. We will be right back. Thanks everyone. We are back. 20 Sides to Every Story. We're running Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen. And so we left our characters in the library, being nerds as usual, looking at all them books and learning about the Dewey Decimal System, apparently. And so we'll say you had met Vendry in the morning. Your talk probably took a good hour or so, getting everything out. And so we'll say that it is late afternoon by the time the group of you have taken on the library. What is in your, what else, and the quartermaster, what else would you guys like to do?
We don't have any like direct orders to go anywhere, right? Like we're kind of waiting around, waiting for assignment at this point.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Exactly.
We're in the library. I got a little bit of time to do stuff. I'm gonna find like a book on religion, and I'm gonna pull out my amulet. I'm gonna set that down.
What?
I'm gonna look.
No.
Okay.
Wow.
You can make me a I'm gonna go with history.
It's gonna be a horse apiece.
Don't say horse.
I am a nerd. I'm a history buff, apparently.
Today, at least.
So here's what happens. You find like you find the second edition, Deities and what was that book?
Deities and Demigods.
Yeah, Deities and Demigods. You find that book, right? And it's just going through, and you're like, who worships a cube like that has little feet on it? Like you're just going around being like, this is absurd. This is absurd. And you get to a part with like Paladine and Tachesis and and there's one page ripped out.
And on this page, it talks about, that's the bullhead guy.
There's a page ripped out from the book.
This page seems to be missing. Someone should really tell the librarian about this.
Hey, I got you something. Where's Kato?
Hey. Shh.
I mean, yes, Brallin, you need something?
Oh, you needed something, and I got it.
What did I need?
And he's gonna just dump it. The sack.
What
for you? You deserve it.
What is it?
Up.
And do the bow tie that's on top.
Uh-huh.
You can't just come in here like a cat with that's got a dead rat that it's presenting to its master. This is a library.
You calling me a cat?
In
Little
this,
kitty cat?
that's the analogy that I am drawing. Yes, you're like a.
Do I look like a cat?
Not to be mean, but with the 2 teeth missing and the fangs that are still there on your,
I've seen
like your little
barred cats
pointy
that look
teeth.
kind of little like that. Yeah, all broken teeth and.
Really? Do I really? I don't look like a cat. No.
Let's just move past it. Why are you bringing all this armor in here?
It's for our buddy here.
But this is too much.
What do you mean? Did I get too many pieces?
No, that's how the armor comes, but I don't know why. How did you even get this?
Oh,
Is this? That's what you were
know.
bothering. That's what you were bothering her with.
what?
I thought you were
It's
like.
an order.
Wait.
No, she stopped me. She said, direct order. We're getting Kato some armor. He deserves it. I said,
Did she though?
Roger that.
I thought you were
So-
trying to solve the whatever the hell his name is, the Baracus problem, just like those two are.
Already had a solution. No one wanted me to go back and kick his ass, so I didn't. So, moved on. Well, anyway, this is from the marshal. Said you deserve it. Congratulations. We're all proud of you.
Why? I will give the marshal my thanks.
Great. What are you doing in there? What are you looking at? Hey, that page is missing.
Yeah, they talked about deities such as, I think there was one with a cube with feet. Anyways, that's kind of weird. There's Paladine in here. There's Blachtekesis. You can see the one here. It's similar to what we saw in the armor. And then just a bunch of others.
Other symbols and stuff. What does this one look like?
And he's gonna take out his symbol that he has
Okay.
and hold it up.
So before get to that, Kato, will you make a quick intelligence check?
You got it.
Just intelligence.
There we go.
Okay.
The universe is balanced.
All right. I won't say what would have happened. But Isaac, or sorry, Brallin, your symbol's very obvious. It's first page of this book. It appears to be the god Paladine.
That's Paladine. Wow.
The leader of the good gods.
Oh, well, look at here.
Doesn't matter. There's no gods.
But there is, Quinton.
Well, there used to be.
Well, there is right now.
Guys, you shouldn't be arguing. This is a library.
It's a debate.
It's an academic debate.
Okay.
Well,
That's allowed.
When I was in the ruins, before I went to Bolgler, the entity which spoke to me said the gods were returning.
Well, what gives him the authority?
Well, and then he'll go into his experience and what he is related, because I don't want to go back to page 1. And it just felt like a very divine experience. And then I've had these gifts that I don't think I would have naturally got myself.
So you're God touched.
If that's how you want to put it.
Well, how do you want to put it? I mean, it's happening to you.
Well, yes, I believe the term that they kept using was champion.
You're
Are
the
you
champion
jealous?
of the gods.
I guess so.
of a god that doesn't appear in this book because someone stole the page.
What? No, it's probably just it's nah. It's nothing. It's just probably not in this book. Maybe-
Who else? Who
maybe
else
it's a
is
new
looking
one.
at the book?
I mean, I'll probably be looking over it because
Cass is waiting to snag that thing as soon as everyone's done with it and walking away. So kind of
I'm-
side-eyeing it, but not touching it.
Are we all like grouped at the table? Like one sitting down, we're all like looking over the
I'm
shoulders.
hiding behind a stack. Like I was like had walked away for a second, and I see all this going down. So I
Anyone who is aware of the book can make that intelligence roll. Just straight intelligence.
Great intelligence.
this is gonna be great.
Hmm.
An 8.
Quinton,
Oh,
Cass. There are 21 gods.
Yep, that's what Cass was going to be going around, like process of elimination. Who could this be?
Yes. You don't have the book yet, but there are 21 gods.
So which do we know the missing one?
If you get your hands on the book.
Yeah, give me the book. Give me that. I'll just take it.
Don't be
Well, I think
jealous.
Well, honestly, I think I'm quite exhausted from today's research. I'm gonna try on the armor when I get back to my room and inform the marshal of my thanks. Here, you might get more use of it. He'll slide the book and then he'll take the bag and then he'll leave.
After he leaves, Cass will join Quinton at the book. Didn't want to necessarily do any investigating when Kato was still around in case it's bad news.
yeah, Miranda will now slide over too.
I guess Brallin there is like,
Well, you see that the first page is mine.
Guys,
I'm good.
this isn't a
That's
book.
good. No, that is good. Very
This is-
good.
You guys realize this ain't a book on political assassination.
What?
Fine.
Nothing. It's a book on gods.
You're being weird, Quinton. I'm gonna report your father.
So, so it's clear to you that as you thumb through and sort of mentally checklist of what you've learned of the gods in the past, right, through myth and legend, that the god that is missing, that seems to have been ripped out of this book, is the god of undeath and false redemption. God by the name of Chemosh.
I thought maybe Sarganis, but I wouldn't have guessed Kemash.
Now, having said that, you basically, because there are constellations in the sky, like these are why you know these gods' names. Like that's it. You know that it's an evil god, and you know that you sort of like the boogeyman is Chemosh, right? The things that come for you at night, Chemosh. And maybe you have some connection to undeath and with that. But that is a hard limit of how much you might know about a god who existed thousands of years earlier.
Well, which one of you wants to tell him? Because you don't want it to be me, and it will be me as soon as I see him.
Listen, oh no. Okay, so
Is it right there? I mean, undead sounds like he's helping people, right?
well, see, okay, so I didn't tell you guys exactly. You remember when he raised that child from the dead, and then the child died later? And I said, oh, the child didn't make it.
Yeah.
That wasn't exactly the whole story. When the child woke up, they were how do I put this? Undead. They were undead and had to be dealt with. But I didn't think that he should know that because, well, I mean, would you want to know that? I don't think you would. So, oh, okay.
Okay, who here has... Did any of you get healed by him?
I was just scrolling back to see, did he do some lay on hands after the tunnel
You
collapsed
got
on
3
me?
points, mister.
He's just gonna start backing away from you. He could turn at any moment.
What do you mean? I'm not getting it. I don't understand.
Kamash
It's
is
good.
an evil god who, and we
What?
just heard Kato say he is a champion of this deity, and that is the source of his power. He serves an evil god, whether he realizes it or not.
But he's good. He's good. I mean,
He is good. It's just he has an evil god who has taken interest in him, which is not good. But he's good. It doesn't mean that he's evil. It just means that an evil wants to work through him.
And then he's gonna do something accidentally, like a little bit bad, and it's gonna spiral into this whole tragedy, and then he's gonna have some kind of like visions popping up for some other group of people in 100 years.
No, he is not. Quinton, no, he is not.
You know, Lord Soth probably didn't think it was gonna happen to him either.
He's not Lord Soth.
Not yet.
Well, to play devil's advocate, if we are up against an undead knight, it might not be the worst thing to have some undead power on our side. But I definitely agree that he bears watching.
I mean, well, if we were to tell Kato, what? I mean, he's pretty honorable. I'm not pretty. Would it devastate him? I feel like it. I don't know. What do you think?
He thinks he's serving a good god, and he's taken a vow.
His identity is very tied up in the values of the knighthood, which are not in common with the vices of Kamash, which I can't claim to be any great, scholar of, but yeah, he is not one of the good ones.
Quinton.
Well, maybe
not.
you're right, Quinton. Maybe God, they don't even exist. Maybe it's all. That's right. I wouldn't say.
I didn't say they don't
No.
exist. They're just like they're just not present.
Well, you're right. Yeah, it's
It seems like they
nothing.
are. Like Miranda said that he tried to raise his kid.
You were arguing that it was.
I didn't know. I didn't know.
Okay,
Just wanted
Okay.
to break the kid.
focus.
Okay,
We
so we're gonna
Okay.
go tell him.
no.
Oh,
We're going to have a discussion, and we're going to decide if this information is what he needs to know right now, or if we need to work up to it a little bit. Drop some, crumbs that maybe things could be bad. I don't know if he'd pick up on them though.
little undead
um,
crumbs.
Yeah. False redemption. Okay. But Quinton, don't just tell him that he is bound to an evil god.
Then
when
what
we
am I
walk-
supposed to say?
Nothing. Just
I don't know.
Nothing.
It's pretty rough. Well, maybe think of something else to just talk about always, other than his.
Okay, give me a subject, and I will just hyper focus on that.
I got him splint armor.
Okay.
You could say how good of a friend I am.
I know. Oh, I'll maybe focus more on like the armor itself and the craftsmanship and like how good it fits.
So you're not. Yeah, you don't. Anything but what we needed.
I don't
yeah.
think I'm gonna. I wouldn't comment on the quality of the relationship between the two of you. That's just not something I would say.
Right.
I'll talk
You
about the
could.
armor. I won't.
Okay.
you're a good friend. I will comment on it for you.
All right, let's go find Kato because I want to talk to him about this armor.
Oh,
Really bad.
okay. I will meanwhile try to stop this, but is there any books in the library, perchance, about specific gods, and in particular, you like Kamash specific book?
There would definitely not be anything on Kamash or really any of the.
Anything?
Yeah, it's not. It's stuff like that would have been pilfered if they existed anymore as people, or burned as the old gods are they left, right? So the fact that you could find like even like a kid's like encyclopedia of symbols, which is basically what you found. Yeah.
I mean,
Go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna try to. I mean, we could be wrong. There could be just another god that we just, didn't know about. Just because Kimosh is missing doesn't mean
We're
that
not
it's
wrong.
not.
I know.
Your father is not gonna like this.
No, he will like it. It's proof that like something's going on. He's gonna love this.
But he's gonna know that you're here with. Well,
We've seen other
Oh, he will
signs
worry.
that the gods have returned. The Red Dragon Army purports to be doing the will of Takhisis. So even if all the gods are not back, it seems as though the Dark Ones are.
well, and
What?
just he's good. It's here.
It seems as though some of your abilities, Brallin, might be coming from Paladine, so maybe the good ones have returned as well.
I guess.
And
Go.
Quinton,
Mm-hmm.
you too have some abilities, new abilities.
Yeah, but from books.
Are what particularly?
I have been doing a lot of research, and I'm dabbling in magics, and I have just a heal spell. It's like my take on mending, but it works on flesh.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
We could all learn it.
Not you, but yeah, a competent wizard could. Like Miranda could probably learn it.
Okay, well, why don't you try to
Cass could
teach
probably
that
learn it.
to me?
Well,
Yeah.
I will. But we're busy, and I gotta go talk to Kato about some armor. I'll be right back. As soon as Quinton finds Kato, he's just gonna be like, that splint armor. It's pretty good, but it's also kind of bad a little bit. Some might say it's like false plate mail.
Well, yeah, I could definitely see that. And sometimes if you get an arrow or a sword, and then he's gonna go off about armor integrity and that kind of stuff.
Anybody listening to this conversation is gonna, what the hell what are they talking about?
Would you like to try it on?
No, keep it away from me. I don't deal in that split armor. I tell you what.
Well, that's fine. I thought you never know. You might look good in armor.
Yeah, well, that's not good armor. I tell you. You should maybe not wear it.
Brallin said it was a gift from the marshal.
Sometimes when people present you with gifts, you should say no.
But wouldn't that be incredibly rude to the person who gave you the gift?
If the person that gave you the gift was a terrible person, then you shouldn't accept it.
Do you not like Brallin?
That's not what this is about. That's not what this is about. But
it's because he punched you in the face that one time. Is there something that you need to tell me about Brallin?
No. Well, maybe. Let me think about it. No. I'm just trying to say, be careful of the armor. That's all I'm gonna say.
I will, but if you ever need to have a talk about something, I'm just right here.
I've said too much already.
All right. If you need anything else, I'll be here, or I'll probably be in the courtyard.
Okay, I'm just gonna go. Good talk.
See you, Quinton.
And then, like, pretty much any time we interact, there's gonna be awkward conversation about your armor.
Worried about my armor. Seems fine to me.
As soon as Cass is back in the room that they've staked out for their own, they're gonna check like their back with a mirror to see if where they took damage and was later healed, if there's any ill effects from the laying on hands from the prior day.
Doesn't seem to be.
Okay.
Nothing you could detect. You could ask Kato to do a divine sense.
No. Nope.
All right. So that evening, Dareth finds you, the group of you, and says, sorry, I just lost my place completely. Give me 1 second. He says, so I have something a little big to tell you guys. Marshal Vendry, she's given me command of a few hundred soldiers. We're gonna go to the northern wastes to see if we can find this what the dragon army's up to, or at least that part of the dragon army.
That's big news. Congrats on your promotion.
I'm not sure it's much of a promotion as much as there's not many people left who can do it. And it's only, it's just a few people.
Well, don't be selling yourself short now. This is a big opportunity for you.
Well, if so I came to ask if you guys would come with us. I think it's wise. Bacchus is still. I mean, I don't think anyone believes him, but the people who want to be upset are still looking for someone to be upset at. And I mean, I could definitely use you. I wouldn't be leading this group. It's not like I can go out and adventure. It'd be really useful if you guys could, scout ahead or, yeah. I also, I mean, I don't really know what I'm doing, so it would be nice to have people around who could help. And he looks at you sort of like a little bit pleadingly. You can see he was being genuine when he said he wasn't sure how much of a promotion it was. Like, you can see he's scared at this. Like, he has now, in the span of 2 weeks, been completely given more and more responsibility. And this is now, like, even when the last time they went out, he was under Buckhurst's command, right? And so this is the first time, like, he is in charge. And so there's a lot of hand wringing and anxiety on his face.
I'll try to be like, I think you are selling yourself short. I think that Marshal Vendry has great trust in you. I saw the way that you two were talking over the battle map, and I think, there's a reason that you've been put in charge.
I get that. I mean, basically though, I have almost the size of Vogler under my command. I mean, it's crazy. And if any of them die, then that's I messed up.
I mean, I. It's likely that you will lose some, but not because you messed up, just because that's the nature of a battle and a war. All you can do is, give them the best chance to succeed. And if you do that, then, you've done what you needed to do.
I mean, we're making plans now, but I think tomorrow night what we're gonna do. Well, let me just find the place. Tomorrow night, on the right there, freehand, give you a better color. Boop. Tomorrow night, we're gonna take the boats out. To a place. It's called Wrecker's Edge. And our plan right now, the forces, the troops will disembark there. We'll set up a camp, and then our mission is to find the dragon army, to figure out what they're up to, and then to thwart whatever they're up to, and then return back to the ships and come home. It's a lot.
Well, one step at a time. And yes, I think I speak for the group when I say we will accompany you and continue to serve the people of Kalaman like we swore to do.
Right, if you need us, we're here for you.
Oh, gee, golly. Thank you.
Well,
You guys really are my best friends. um, and he says, so I think tomorrow you guys just need to make yourselves ready. And we'll leave. Just be down at the docks before sunset. And yeah, it's gonna be a long night tomorrow night. So get some rest tonight. And yeah. Do whatever you have to do, because it may be a few weeks or even months before we get back.
Well, we thank you for the heads up.
Well, I mean, I don't. Okay. I'm not sure how much of a heads up. Is that sarcastic?
I'd be genuinely sincere. I mean, I wasn't expecting to be venturing out right away. It's good to know.
Why? Well, yeah. Do whatever you need to do. And yeah. If I'll be around. I don't think I'm gonna get much sleep tonight, but I'll be around. If you need anything, of course, you can come ask me.
How sincere was Kato when he was congratulating Garrett on his so-called promotion?
100%.
Okay.
Do you just assume that Kato's evil too?
No, I asked this the last time he congratulated as well. Just because I guess is very interested in people's motivations and attitudes, and trying to see how competitive Kato has been with, the gradual promotions and rise in the ranks that Darrett has had compared to Kato. So just curious if there was any resentment.
Oi. Oi. Is there anything else that's going to happen that evening for you guys? I have one small thing, but
I think knowing that we're going to be out on the road maybe for a month or so, Quinton would want to get some fishing.
Okay.
Because that's the one survival
so,
thing that he knows how to do. So
yeah, and so since we're getting to the end of our session, sort of we will do shopping before you depart at the beginning of next session. But that's no, but you feel free to add it now. But just so you have the time to think about what you might want to prepare, we'll add that in at the beginning next time, real quick. But if there's non-shopping stuff, or if there's nothing besides that, the only thing is that Quinton and Miranda, that night, a messenger comes with to each of you with a really ornate envelope that's been sealed with wax, and on it, in a very flowery script, handwritten, is your names on each of your invitations. I said they're invitations. They're invitations. Sorry. And sure enough, it's an invitation for you to meet in the morning with Wyhan, who was the person to whom you delivered the scroll when you first arrived in Kalaman, the somewhat not super, friendly representative of the Mages of the High Tower. So I think also we'll start with that next time, like just to set that up, the mood. If that's okay, just because that I can see that turning into a conversation as well. So yeah, I think we'll leave it there for now, for tonight, and say goodbye to our audience. We are dark next week. We won't be playing, but we will be back in 2 weeks, same time as always, same day. So thanks everyone for joining us tonight. This is 20 Sides to Every Story, and we are an online gaming community. If you haven't gotten a chance to check out our Discord channel, please do so. Please subscribe to the channel so you know what we're up to. Pretty much every night of the week there's something, sometimes one or two things. So our schedule is normally down below, but if you go to the Discord channel, you'll always get the most up-to-date info. And with that, we'll say goodnight for now. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you soon.
We'll throw a raid over to Reception Studio as we close things. Thanks, everyone.
Night.